Okay, webinar is now started. Chief Colella had a report that he sent out, and I attached to your committee of the whole meeting if you want to see it there. And President Erbaldinger had asked if you wanted to let him go first. So Rick, you're good if you want to go ahead first. And they have a copy of your report attached to the committee of the whole agenda if you need to refer to it.
All right. Good evening, everybody. I know most of the ends. Rick Colella, I'm the fire chief here at the fire department. I just wanted to give an update with the road construction, some of the stuff that we're doing at the fire department here. And I attached a report that covered the first quarter of this year, January to March. We try to get them out monthly, but sometimes we have too many calls that we get backed up on the calls, so I don't get it out in a timely fashion. Because I got to wait till we finish the reports till we get the calls out. But I'll keep up on those, and we'll get those out on a timely fashion, hopefully for your first meeting of the month for the public safety meeting. But since the construction started on Onward Boulevard, I just wanted to update council. We're prepared for it. We were in concert with the construction company and everyone working. We actually added a couple companies onto the fire calls, on our regular fire calls, just to cover in case we can't make it somewhere due to construction or traffic. So we can have a timely response. We've added Swissvale onto the top part of the borough, and on the fire department side here, we've added Churchill. So you might see a couple extra fire trucks there, but that was just to cover in case something would happen traffic-wise that we can't make it, and we're covering all the avenues that way. We just had a traffic incident management class last night between ourselves and Rivers Edge Fire Department came up, and Wilkins 3 came, just for awareness on traffic patterns and setting up to operate safely in a construction zone and an accident zone for the firefighters. Where next week we're doing a confined space class, which will fall right into what they're doing on the boulevard here. And at the middle to end of May, we're doing a trench rescue class, which also will assist us if something would happen during the construction up here on the boulevard. Other than that, it's been busy this year. If you look at our reports, we've done about a call a day. Some days more than others. Some days we don't have no calls, but the average is about a call every day, as you can see. Does anyone have any questions on our reports?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good.
Actually, I do have a question. You wanted to give us an update on the fire truck? What's like?
Yep.
Do you have any updates on that?
That was my next thing is the ladder truck.
Sorry.
The new ladder truck. We completed all the preliminary work and like everything we did last year. I got the first production report just the other day, which is a bunch of pieces of metal cut that they started to fabricate the cab and chassis. I'll be getting updated reports and I can forward those. I'll forward those up to Steve also. Right now it's a bunch of pieces of metal, and we're on track for delivery for June 15th, somewhere around that neighborhood of this year. So that's moving right along, right on schedule. I believe when we originally started, it was May, June, and they pushed it, and we got everything's done, and we're getting ready to order equipment to get that in. Some of the equipment is 10 to 15 to 18 weeks out for delivery. So everything will fall into place when that comes in, probably about mid-June.
Mr. Colella, I have a question quickly. We have your largest call outs are for good intent calls. Could you tell me what that includes?
Good intent call is that could cover, that's everything that doesn't get covered in the National Fire Incident Reporting System, which is actually, they're not actually fires. They could be false alarms or helping someone with their furnace, or if they have a problem at their house, a lockout. We helped the medics a few times this month already for lockouts. So they're good intention calls, but they don't fall into an actual fire report. system. So it's always good intent calls.
Okay. And then the hazardous conditions where you don't have a fire, what kinds of things are those?
That's a carbon monoxide alarms, stuff
Okay.
like that, alarms, a furnace motor, or smoke detector goes off, we don't find nothing.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yes,
Hey, Rick, it's Mayor Porco. Just quick question. Have you seen any sort of significant uptick of accidents on the boulevards? Construction started. Can you comment on that at all?
since the construction started, we've only had one accident in the construction zone.
Okay,
The accidents actually started happening in, I'd say, November last year, where he had an uptick of accidents. And the most recent was a couple weeks ago on down by Vincent's, where the car rolled over about 8 times.
Yep.
But, and that's a trend going, like you all know, I work for the county. We're seeing that is people are starting to drive on the roads and they don't care about no one else. They're the only ones that are more important, and everyone's driving too fast. But yeah,
Okay.
in the construction zone, we've had only one accident since it started.
all right. Good to know. All right, thanks, Chief.
And we are tracking that, so we'll be able to give updates on that. But yeah, so far there's only been one.
All right,
Construction people have been wonderful, and they're helping us out if we have a problem or a question. They answer it and they take care of it if we have any issues.
all right, that's good to know. Thank you.
Anybody else have any comments or questions for Chief Colella? I guess not. Rick, thank
Thank
you.
you, Chief. I would like to thank you too, that you took the time to report to us. I think it's useful if you do it once in a while. Thank you.
Yeah, not a problem.
thank-
I'll
Yeah,
try to
thank
get,
you.
I'll try to get a hold of you. I'll try to hit the public safety meetings. Like I was going to go down with Jimmy this week, but I ended up having to work that night. I had to go down to Washington County for an issue. So, but if I'm available on the Tuesday nights for the public safety meetings, I'll join on those.
Might I suggest this information is really helpful to the public? Is this posted on our webpage, or could we post it at the public meeting under your report?
Yeah, there's nothing proprietary in there.
No, that's what I mean. I would like to share this with the public because we don't get a lot of public at a committee meeting.
Patty, this is Angelo. We discussed that at the last meeting, and that was one of the takeaways from the meeting, that we would be looking at posting the EMS report, the fire department report, as well as the police report.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I missed.
No, it's okay.
Is there anyone else? Okay, Chief, thanks for attending, and you can get back to your other meeting now, I guess.
All right,
Well, good.
thanks, everyone. If you ever need anything from me, Steve has my contact information as well. Most of you do. Just feel free to contact me anytime.
Thanks,
Thank
Chief.
you. Thank you, Rick. Okay, the first committee, then moving back to the original schedule, was planning and zoning. So, Mr. Brule, if you're okay, we can get started with that.
Yes, I am.
I just have two very brief things, and then Dawn is not able to attend tonight. He is away. I have a brief report he asked me to give you from Tree and Shrub with some photos I'm going to show you. So first, under manager's update, item A is just reminders. I have no new information on any of that. Item B is also just kind of an informational thing only. Last month, I brought this up that the library is looking to place some kind of signs around that would identify it a little bit more, provide some direction for it. And Erin and I spoke this past week. She wants to make sure it's in line with our zoning ordinance requirements for signs. She is looking for something that maybe would go out here on Perry or at Perry and Greensburg Pike, somewhere there, but she hasn't specifically said what yet. So she's going to look at that and try to give me some information I can pass on to you. We also talked about a few other odds and ends, some issues she was having, and I think we worked everything out. So I'm not going to really report on that here because that's not for this committee necessarily, but nothing major or unusual there. They're still keeping the same schedule generally and beginning to ramp up a little bit more with reading and things like that. So that's all I have to report under my report. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, well,
Is there anything else that we want to talk about within the committee?
the only thing I have is Don Branzel's
Mhm.
report, his photos that he asked me to show.
Okay,
And he wants me to show them on behalf of Tree and Shrub. I'm trying to get them to come up here on the screen. And there they are, I think. So you should see some photos along Ardmore Boulevard. There are two issues here that Don brought to Tree and Shrub, and Tree and Shrub asked Don instead to bring them back to council. They didn't want to make a decision on that. And then of course, Don ended up being on vacation this week, so he wasn't able to be here. So in any case, the first thing you'll see is trees overhanging Ardmore. This is below the Centurion and Church areas. What PennDOT has told Tree and Shrub is they want to come in after the work is over and essentially, I don't know if you can see my mouse on here, but shear off the trees straight up that are hanging over Ardmore. Tree and Shrub is concerned that just doing that, see this one here, for example, hanging out over Ardmore. The Tree and Shrub is concerned that just doing that is going to kill them. And PennDOT said they would take them down instead if we preferred. Tree and Shrub did not want to make that decision. So they said that they wanted it to go to council to look at, and that, I'm sorry, that picture is one beyond where I need to go here for right now. So these three photos show you an illustration of the trees overhanging. And again, Tree and Shrub referred this to council.
has it been a threat?
Yeah, I have. a
What,
concern.
Patty?
Is the Department of Transportation policy now that anything that crosses above the roadway is to be sheared off? Because the whole concept of having a tree canopy is that it helps with traffic calming, it helps with shading the walkways for pedestrians, and it adds to the ambiance of the community. And having tree-lined streets is one of the characteristics of our community that we've been trying to maintain. So I understand when you're under a power line, they have right-of-way clearances for safety reasons from the power line so that it doesn't arc into the trees. And that's usually a distance of 50 feet. But for having trees that are not in danger of falling or are not, hazardous in the way of dropping branches, etc., I don't understand the DOT practice of wanting to shear off trees that overarch the roadway. Do you know whether there's a policy of theirs that we can refer to, or is there any way we can object to that on the grounds of it destroying the ambiance of our community?
I would say you can go to PennDOT with any question you have or want. I don't have any more details other than what I was told.
When do they give you a notice of when they're planning to do this? Or do we have time to
I
read?
didn't even know that this had gone to Tree and Shrub. This because it would happen fairly quickly and recently. My understanding is that it would be after the work was completed on Ardmore.
Is it in the way of any wires right now? I don't see any.
No,
It's on
all the
the-
wires are in the middle.
Yeah, well, I don't see a reason for doing that unless it's going to fall down. I don't think it's going to do that.
Well, I guess they claim this is in their right of way. And I guess they claim that they want to at least shear these straight up.
The tree's going to die, and it's going to die and then fall down. Oh, it doesn't make any sense.
I'm sorry, Steve, who's they again? I apologize.
PennDOT.
I don't think this is an appropriate clearance because those trees are not posing any traffic hazard.
No, not at all.
they're posing a shading and tree canopy of a mature tree canopy tends to want to slow the traffic down. And I don't want to have those eliminated just because they think they need a right of way straight up to the sky from their roadbed. I will contact Stephanie Spang and find out whether we can object to this and whether we can revise their pruning practice. I can tell you there are a lot of communities concerned about this practice, not just us. I'm planning to bring it up at the Pennsylvania Municipal League on Thursday. We may be adopting a resolution of objection to the DOT for their tree pruning practices in general. But this is classic, where it would completely change the character of that street if we take down all of the overhanging trees. It will just completely change the character of our street.
Don will be back this week, so I'll also refer to him that you had a number of objections to this.
I object, and if he has any contact with the Department of Transportation, you can please refer them to me. I will be standing on those trees and circling them with people of concern if they think they're cutting all of those trees down just because the branches overhang the road.
Well, they weren't gonna, the initial thing was not they were gonna cut them down, they were going to shear off the overhanging areas. That's their initial plan. That's what I was told.
Well, Patty, I hope you could do something about that because I agree with you. That is our beauty point. That's one of the reasons I enjoyed being in Forest Hills when I first got here, those trees.
Okay, I'll let Dawn know that. And if we have, I know there's a contact I just got from PennDOT regarding who we can refer citizens to who have issues. But you already have one of the contacts, Patty, that is probably one of the main contacts if you want to talk to them too. But I'll let Dawn know and maybe have him give you a call also when he returns.
Thank you.
The other trees that Dawn brought up were 2 trees along Ardmore. These are smaller that he has marked with an X because you can see this, the roots are starting to take up the sidewalk. He mentioned that one, and actually now that I look at it, that might be the same tree. Is that this? No, that's not. That's 2 different trees. They're beginning to take up the sidewalk. This tree is right against the walkway, and this tree is almost there too. And again, Tree and Shrub asked council to, they didn't want to say it was okay to do that. They wanted this to go to council, and Dawn asked me to bring it up tonight. If you recall, when back about 20 years ago, when PennDOT came in and resurfaced Ardmore, they also redid all these sidewalks for us, because at that time the sidewalks were all along most of the stretch between the park, actually going up to the park, and Centurion and even down to Fillmore were all raised significantly. I know I walked that a lot when I first started here. That was an issue. So they asked if council had any issues with removing these 2 because of the sidewalk issue. Does anybody have any comments, any objections?
What do you think, Patty? You think we should relocate that tree, save the sidewalk?
When they're that close to the sidewalk, they are going to wreck the sidewalk, and there are other
Yeah.
trees behind them. These look like pretty small scrub trees in any case. All the way
Especially
along.
this one is really doing the sidewalk. So, okay. Should look
Nobody
at
has
what
any-
we can do.
No objections then? Okay. I'll let him know then that no, the committee had no objections to taking them down. And again, I will have him get back to you folks about PennDOT and what their schedule is for those other trees. Did anybody else have any other questions? I don't have anything else to report for myself or for Dawn.
Well, I don't have any more. How about you, Patty? Jack, are you here? No, Jack's not there. Yes, he is. You have more questions about anything, Patty or Jack?
Only that the planning and the planning commission is going to be taking up the complete streets policy again at the end of the month at their meeting. You're all welcome to join that meeting if you wish.
Yeah, I'll try to be there too. I missed the last one. Jack, do you have anything to say? Okay, Steve, we're done.
Okay, give me a few seconds and we'll go to finance as soon as I get out of planning and zoning here. If I can find finance, there we go. Okay, Ms. DeMarco, I'm okay with finance. If you want to get started, and I can bring Ms. Clark onto
Please.
this.
Please do. So I'm very pleased this evening to have Jeannie Clark from Alcoasand present. We have a number of new council members who may not know about the Alcoasand project that is going on, and that we have a rate increase coming, and also that there are ways of ameliorating that rate increase a bit. And so I invited Jeannie Clark to join us this evening. Jeannie, welcome, and thank you so much for your wonderful and gracious chairmanship of the ALOM meeting.
Thank you so
taking
much, Dr. DeMarco.
Taking over
And
the chair
I'm
is
always
a wonderful experience.
delighted to be in and around Forest Hills, because that's where my granddaughter and her parents live. And so it's always pretty much a joy to be there. I did want to go over with everybody the structure of our rates, why they're the way they are, and what's available for your citizens, your families, to get relief if they need it. We have started our $2 billion required federal consent decree, and we are required between now and 2036 to double the capacity of our plant on treatment from 250 million gallons a day to over 600 million gallons a day, to bring more stormwater and wastewater into the plant. We have our current system can handle all the dry weather use, but when we get rain and snow melt and it comes through the pipes, that's when we wind up with overflows in the rivers. Currently, on an average year, we have 9 billion gallons of stormwater mixed with sewage that goes into the rivers and streams. With this $2 billion project, we will move to below 3 billion gallons, and everything is going to be big. We're landlocked. If you've ever been to Alcoasand, to our open house, or to anything down here, we're landlocked. We have the river on one side, the railroad on the other, and the penitentiary. And so we have to move things around here in order to be able to have everything duplicated that we're already doing. So we're building parking garages, we're moving buildings around, and we currently have 5 major construction projects in our 59-acre footprint. We're also we have just held public hearings. I urge you to go up to our website and take a look at the most recent one, because that's about how we're going to deliver all of that excess wet weather to the plant. We are going to build large tunnels 150 feet below the rivers in bedrock to bring all of that flow and treat it. By the time we're done, there will be areas where recreation occurs on the rivers that will have no overflows. And that's our goal. And through this portion, through 2036, we will so significantly reduce the pollution in our rivers that I think we're going to see continuous improvement. All that costs a lot of money. And there's rarely any money other than what we get from the ratepayers through your payments to us. So when we initially developed our plan, we did everything that the federal government required us to do, and they required it by 2036. And that plan came out to be about $3.6 billion. We realized that that was too fast, too expensive for a large quantity of our ratepayers. And so we went back and renegotiated for more time, for the ability to do a big part of it between now and 2036, and then the rest after 2036, as a way to make it more affordable, and also to be able to adapt as new technologies come in. So that's where the rates go. But they still have to go up. Initially, we thought that we would be between 10 and 15% every year for the duration of any work we were doing. We have been able to reduce that so that while we are having yearly increases, they are far less than what we estimated. We also found that if we adopt increases in multi-year segments, that gives more sureness to everybody, businesses, residential customers, everybody, so that they know for a time period what the rates are going to be. So last fall, we adopted a new 5-year rate structure that had increases of about 77% from 2022 to 2026. The increases are financing the Clean Water Plan activities, as well as the current work of, we have to work 24/7, 365, so we have to keep everything going while we're building more. And we have a number of different programs that we're working with that. Lots of people have problems with percentages. I know I do, especially when I'm thinking about what percentage of weight I've lost or gained. But one of the easy ways to realize it is the average residential customer who uses 12,000 gallons of water per quarter will pay about $3 more a month if they pay monthly. If they pay quarterly, it's about $36, and annually it does come out to $549. So we're not going to pretend that these rates aren't a hit for a lot of us. So we'll have similar raises in the next 4 years after this one. Our rates don't include rates the municipalities charge for their conveyance and their sewer upkeep. There are two different charges on the average customer's bill. One is a quarterly charge that's $20.45, and then the usage charge, which is based on people's water usage. When we looked at the rates, and they were, we hire a firm to work with us to figure out what these rates ought to be. And we follow all the government requirements and how we have to meet that. We realized in 2016 that with rates going up, we had to start providing help. We were the first sewage authority in the state to develop our own customer assistance program. So families who meet income guidelines, so the same income guidelines as the help for electricity or gas are, should just call Dollar Energy, and they will get a credit of $40 on their bill every quarter. We've raised it consistently to meet the new rate increases. It's a very easy program for them to apply for if they already receive assistance. They just need to let Dollar Energy know, so then Dollar Energy can take it from there. We are pushing with Dollar Energy. During COVID, we had them move to a really deep bench of telephone folks to be able to help our customers move there. And we're trying to get it so that because so many people have smartphones, we want people to be able to provide the proof that's needed and to apply through their cell phone or their smartphone. So we're working on that. We fund our Clean Water Assistance Fund to about $1 million a year. And we are always trying to get people to know about it and to apply for it. One problem we have that we hope you as community leaders can help us with is let people know about it. They don't get bills from Alcosan. It says Alcosan somewhere on the bill, but they do not come from Alcosan. So a lot of people don't even know that they have services by us. So we need help on your website and talking to communities. We can come out if you want us to with Dollar Energy to sign people up. We are very eager to have to raise this if necessary. There's another crisis grant program that is temporary that we have worked with the Pennsylvania Department of Human Services, and that would also benefit your bottom line as well as your ratepayers. It's called, you have to love government, it's called LIWAP, the Low Income Household Water Assistance Program. It was funded through COVID dollars, and they need to be in crisis, an unpaid water bill, unpaid sewage bill, people with arrears. And those are the bills that you have to pick up and cover. So we've worked with the people in Harrisburg on this project, on this program, so that any money that came through would go to you. It doesn't come to us because of our financial agreement where you pay we basically wholesale wastewater treatment to you, and then you pay us the wholesale cost and then you bill it back out. So with this program, and it is going to go away, so I'm really trying to get the word out as much as possible. You need to only tell your folks that if they qualify, income qualify, they have a termination notice or past due water bills or danger, notified that they could be shut off, something like that. They can go online to the state. It's www.compass.state.pa.us, and they can also call the local county assistance office or go and sign up at the county assistance office. As long as the municipalities have signed up to receive the money from the state, signed the vendor agreement with the state, then you will automatically have those successful applicants have those bills paid directly to you, to as much as $2,500 for water and $2,500 for sewer. And so we were able to streamline to some extent this for our municipal customers so that you could take advantage of it. We do a lot of outreach. We also have, as I think Mayor Porco, I think your daughter was at our Scholastic Outreach Camp. We do a lot of work out in the community to make sure that folks know about what we do. We're very proud of what we do, and we're all paying the same bills that you are. But I really would love to answer any questions you might have about Alcosan, our clean water plan, or the rates and the programs that are available to help people.
My first question is, would you happen to have links that we could connect to our own website?
Absolutely. We can make sure that goes out to Steve.
And then I would imagine that there's certain income thresholds that have to be met in addition as you talk to.
Yes.
But can we have specifics? Because then the first line of defense is typically our office, right? So it'd be good to kind of educate our office staff as to what specific income thresholds need to be met.
Sure, we can bring fact sheets. We can drop fact sheets off at the office. We can provide, kind of little ads for you to run in your newsletters, etc. And we have cute cards that we can give out that, tell people how to do it. We've tried to keep all of this as simple and easy as possible, and we've kept to the same income guidelines that are 150% over poverty and are aligned with the federal government. They're the ones that change the guidelines every year.
Thank
I
you.
see. Sure. Was I right? Did I remember your daughter right, Mayor Porco?
You did. She actually did do that. It seems
I
like
think that was
forever
right
ago.
before
She's,
you became mayor.
Yeah. So she's a senior and getting ready to graduate high school now.
Oh.
She's picking colleges this week.
Well, good luck with
Long,
that.
long time ago.
I think there's a question for Mr. Watkins.
Yes, I was wondering roughly what percentage of the municipalities in Allegheny County are participating in this program?
In the Clean Water Assistance Fund, I think we have about 75%. I'm somewhat guessing on that. I can't speak for the state emergency program, but I've had several conversations with them and helped municipalities do the signups they need and find their way through the maze on that one. Is that it? No more questions? We do have on our website, we have a lot of videos of what we're doing at the plant, how we're doing things. We have our full financials on the website and links to a number of different programs, including our Scholastic Outreach program. Anything you need, you can just contact me and I can get it for you. Steve, it's okay, we can talk next week about what you need for your website, etc. Only because tomorrow's my last day in the office for a week. So.
Sure.
And I urge you to stay in touch. We did have a wonderful luncheon honoring our customer municipalities at the ALOM conference. So I'm hoping next year maybe you can come up. And in the meantime, in September, we are going to have our open house. I'm not quite sure how we're going to do it with all the construction. It'll probably be a combination of online and in person, but we really like to show off what we do. And so we get about a little over 2,000 people every year coming to the plant on a Saturday in September. Lots of things for kids, extra credit, tours of the plant, tours of the lab. We feed you, and we even let you make a direct deposit. So I hope that you can, little bit of humor there. I hope to see you in one of those places.
We did.
And as Patty said, I am now the chair of the Allegheny Lake Municipalities. So I hope I'll see you at one of the things that that ALOM does. I'm really pleased and honored that Dr. DeMarco invited me to address you tonight.
We did approve the low income help for water in February of this
Good.
year.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we'd had a good description about how it worked and all the details. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you so
Yeah.
much for giving us a little bit of an update about this. It's a long-winded and a long-term and complicated project, but
Right.
yeah.
And my daughter, one of my daughters is a worker for the Department of Human Services, a caseworker. And she just, when it first started, I called her and she says, "Oh, it's a mess,"
Yeah.
which is kind of what I expected, but they're working on it quickly.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And
Thank you.
if anyone has any more questions, they know how to reach you. And
Right, absolutely. Call me at Alcosan. I can never remember my own number, so I have to look it up. 412-734-6222. Give me a call anytime. I'd love to see you here at the plant or out in the field.
okay,
Take care and stay safe, everybody.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Now, where do I find that? Leave. Oh, there it is.
okay. Next on our agenda, we have the manager's update. Mr. Morris, do we have any information that you'd like to share with the finance?
Yeah, yes. I have 5 items, but the last 2 are just reminders, repeats. There's no final decision on either of those 2 yet. So the first items, A, B, and C, cash flow I usually would have at this time, but with the staffing issues we're dealing with, it's delayed. So I don't have that. Everything's not quite finished yet through March. I'll hopefully have both for you in what is this month? In May. Item B and C will take me the longest. Last month, I tried to do a quick tour of some of our financial reports so you can understand them. I know it was very quick and was probably confusing. So I certainly want you to ask me questions about that if you do, but I wanted today to do a brief tour of the budget. And I have this presentation here that I'm going to show, which shouldn't take too long. And I will provide this to you via email with the notes, so you don't have to worry about writing anything down. But the budget booklets are being printed right now, and they should be in your mailboxes, thank God, this month. So the front cover, of course, looks like what you see here, the Forest Hills 2022 Budgets and Capital Improvements Plan is showing. The budget message is the first part of our budget, and that is a requirement in my job description that I will prepare and submit to council a budget and an explanatory budget message. You can read this information yourself. It's also in chapter 1. My job description's in chapter 1 of our Code of Ordinances. But essentially, we use the staff to start working on the budget in August, and council is aware of that. And in fact, actually, next month, May, is when we're going to start working on the capital improvements plan for 2023. The budget message, though, includes usually a very large memo with the first draft of the budget. And it includes things that committees should consider preparing a budget and highlights of revenues and expenditures with notes. For example, I have an explanation for how I calculated real property taxes in my budget message. There's an awful lot of information in the budget message. I don't expect anybody to read the 70-some pages in my budget message in its entirety, but I try to put information on sections of the budget in here. So if you have a question, you can go and find out. This tells you how I calculated, for example, the current year real estate tax, which is part also of the budget message. I also include charts in there like this chart, for example, which shows you the major expenditure categories in Forest Hills: police, public works, administration, recreation, and legal, and how much per person they cost based on the last 10 years worth of budgets and recent census data. You'll see charts like that in my budget message. The budget itself is a spreadsheet format like this. This is the one for revenues, the first page for revenues. And if you have looked on the borough website, you've seen this. Lots of times people don't understand what this top line means, what these different columns are. So I want to take a couple of minutes to explain that. The column headings are the same for both revenues and expenditures. And you can see there's about 10 different headings there. Let me tell you what they mean. The first 3 headings show account number, which shows you a line item number based on the state recommended account numbering system. And then you have the title, and below that, a list of all the items that are in the general fund budget. And in the next column, the third column over, you see a copy of the prior year's budget. This is true of every budget we publish. It always shows the prior year's budget in there. It also shows you what our actual numbers were at the end of the year for the prior year. So for 2021, as of 12/31, you see all the numbers in the column that says 2021 actual. The numbers are pre-audit. The auditor may adjust those figures as part of their process in completing the audit. Doesn't mean anything's wrong with the numbers. It just means that they've suggested that perhaps something should move back to 2020 for accounting or should move into 2022 for accounting. And of course, if there are any errors, they usually pick them up as we're going. And then I also, for the previous year's budget, show you a comparison of how much we budgeted for that year and how much we actually took in based on a plus or minus system. So you can see whether we were above the budget for that line item or below the budget for that line item. The next three columns show the new budget for the new year, in this case, 2022. I started this millage equivalency column 3 or 4 years ago, and it shows you the millage that would be required to fund each line item if real estate taxes were our only revenue. I don't show it for every single line item, but I do show it for major categories. So if you go back a little bit, let me go back to this here. In this column here, for example, total real property taxes is equal to 7.9 mils. You may say, well, why is it not 8 mils? Our budget is 8 mils. Well, don't forget, we build in delinquencies and uncollectibles into that number. So that's why it doesn't hit 8 mils. But that shows you an example of the millage equivalency. I also show you a projection for the next year's budget, 2023, in this case. And that's just a projection. It's not meant to be set in stone or anything. Following that, the next three columns, the last three, show you the percent of total revenue. I take the total revenue for the year in the general fund, in this case, 6.8 million, and I show you how much each line item makes up of that total revenue. So, for example, real estate taxes for 2022 are equivalent to a little over 43% of the total budget figure of 6.8 million. Then I show you the dollar increase or decrease comparison between 2021 and 2022. And I show you that as percentage in the final column to show you whether it was an increase or decrease between 2021 and 2022. I also have little superscript numbers, little footnotes in the budget that I put in a separate section called disclosure notes. So if you were to go back to that budget page, the spreadsheet that I have, you would see next to real estate tax revenue, a little number 1. And that refers to the disclosure note that explains that real estate tax revenue includes 1 mil dedicated to pavement improvement. So there are disclosure notes that are also in the budget, in addition to budget information in my budget message. Other budgets that are included in this book include the corrective action budget, which we also call Capital 2, the liquid fuels budget, which is our share of funds from the state for fuel taxes, the capital improvements plan, which we also call Capital 1 or CIP. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in a minute when I talk about Environmental Advisory Council. The Fire Protection Services fee budget is there. The Road Improvement Fund program budget is there also. That's from the 1 mil that's dedicated. At the end of the budget book, and this will all, by the way, also be on the website as soon as I can break it into pieces and send it to our webmaster to put in there. But you see a number of appendices that are there. I'm not going to go through all of these, but I show bond issue debt service. I show millage history. I show the resolution that was used to set the fees. I show resolutions that were used to set the local services tax. For example, I also show statistics. There's about 20 pages of statistics on various historical aspects of our borough finances. They're both in table form and chart form. This is an example of one of those charts. This is an illustration of pension state aid compared to how much we actually spend for the police pension every year, which is in blue, and how much we actually spend for the public works or non-uniform, which is in gold. Does somebody have a question? Or was no? And then the green shows how much state aid we get. And I show that in an illustration like this, and it's also shown in a spreadsheet format in the statistics section. There's a lot of different statistics in there, and I publish that on the website. I also show the millage history going back as far as 1985. I realize you probably can't read a lot of this right here, but it's going to be in the book that you'll have. It'll also be on the website, and it shows you what our millage history is. For how many years is that? 25, 30? No, 20, yeah, more than 30, I guess, huh? And that's essentially everything that you're going to find in the budget. That's just a very quick tour of the budget. Does anybody have any questions before I get off this screen? I realize that was also kind of quick, but these notes I will put into an attachment and send it out in an email to you this week, so you can have that. This is just a quick view of how to read the budget document.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate this very much. I do peruse it on a regular basis, so I appreciate having your document.
Okay. If there's no other questions, then I'll go on to my item here about the Environmental Advisory Council. Again, I realize all that stuff was very fast. Same was fast last month as well. I keep trying to provide you with some information on budgets and things so you understand what we're doing and how to read it. And if anybody needs separate information, I'll be happy to meet with you or talk with you a little bit about it. Mr. Baiocchi and I were talking actually about trying to do some of this in a video format or something that would be available for people. And I had one time had wanted to do that before the pandemic struck and everything else. You remember I was used to hold coffee hours for the public, and I stopped doing that when the pandemic started. Of course, I may resurrect that. I don't know. That's the appropriate season. Never mind. Anyway, I was going to make somewhat a religious joke, but it might be considered maybe blasphemous. So I'm already in enough trouble. I don't need to do that. Let me talk about the Environmental Advisory Council, if you would. This is another thing I'm in trouble for. Back last year, when we were doing the budget, I asked everybody to submit information for the general fund budget and the capital improvement.
Steve, can I make a comment?
Yes.
I don't think we need to go really rehash all the past. I do think we should talk about our capital improvement fund. So that stuff I don't think we need to go over all those emails and all those notes.
Okay, well, you're going to miss all the jokes I was going to tell about myself, but that's okay. Well, all I wanted to show you was that through whatever mistake I made or somebody made, I missed Environmental Advisory Council's submissions. And and to further the mistakes I've made, I also forgot to post them as an attachment to your Finance Committee agenda. Instead, I posted them as attachments to your committee, the whole agenda. So the environmental advisory stuff that was submitted to me last year is posted on the committee, the whole agenda. Just to show you what I'm talking about here, they had submitted this budget request. They had submitted, well, this is the budget request for general fund. They had submitted this capital improvements plot project and this one for the deck, and this one for signs at the bird sanctuary. And I totally missed all of these, but they are attached for you to look at. Now, I don't think there's a problem here. So let me divide this into two things here, and maybe I'll put this on the screen too, just to make it simple. The capital improvements plan, those numbers should have gone into the capital improvements plan for deck, et cetera, signs and all that, and they didn't. I think that you could still figure out a way to put them in here, and I show you some numbers on the Finance Committee report form that explains why I think you could still fit them in. Okay, I can go over this in great detail, but I don't want to belabor this since this is on your sheet. Hopefully it's easily understandable. But basically, the approved budget, let me just summarize. The approved capital budget for 2022 was $731,000 plus. If I add in the missing Environmental Advisory Council, that brings 2022 total to $759,000 plus. Now, you didn't have enough money to fund either numbers. Doesn't make any difference. If you remember, you were supposed to have everybody who needed something that was in 2022 come to committee, explain what they needed, ask council to approve it, and then you would spend the money. So the money would not just automatically be spent. Now realize in the capital budget, there are some things that are already earmarked or committed. There are about $318,000 for 2022 that's committed. For example, the third or fourth payment on a truck, the second or third payment on a truck. Those things are all, committed because they're lease purchase. So there are some dollars committed, but between 318,000 that's committed and what's available in cash of total of 542,000, you should be able to still fund the Environmental Advisory Council projects that they requested that were missing. Does anybody have any questions at that point before I finish my last point for this?
I have one other comment. We will sell the rest, like the senior rec, and that money we already told you should go directly into the capital improvement funds. So I'm hoping there will be a significant chunk which should help.
Yes.
Steve, will this
Sure.
require, do we require a vote of council at the business meeting to add the $7,000 for the, or whatever it is, $7,905 for the bird sanctuary into the capital budget for this year? Do we need a motion?
I would suggest that the forms that I showed you
Yeah,
that were missing, that you should let me put them on finance and either just report them as part of the general report and say they're accepted without objection, or if you feel better about it, put it as a motion. Yes, I would do
I
that.
think to put it as a report and accept it without objection on the budget, so they would go into the remaining funds available for the capital improvement budget.
Okay, I can do that. The last thing I wanted to mention simply was general fund. Again, I did not, I don't know how, somebody had given me the full $7,905 that had been requested for general fund. And I think I had that in my first draft of the budget. But when council was cutting different numbers to reduce the budget to get it in line to balance and move money, we cut apparently $2,000 from that. So the Environmental Advisory Council request for the general fund is only $5,905, not $7,905. Now, you cannot change the general fund bottom line. You can move money around within the general fund if you want. I would suggest waiting to see whether you need to do that. If it does turn out that Environmental Advisory needs the extra 2,000, then you can always move that later. There's no hurry to do that. But I wanted to point out to you that for some reason I did not see their sheet, but I did have that $7,900 number. So I don't know why I had that and didn't have the rest. But in any case, I don't think you need to do anything with that. Does anybody have any questions about that? And I'll put that on the report too.
Okay.
Okay, I don't have anything else to report. The last two items are about ARPA, which council needs to still discuss and decide on. There's no hurry on that. I think you want to wait and see what the sewer regionalization cost is going to be before you do anything more with that. But don't forget, now you are allowed to use that for any purpose. And I know the discussion had been using it for the rec lodge. So there's no decision needed to be made yet though on that. But I do have that information on here. And I do repeat also the bond issue spending, which I'm keeping as a reminder, because again, you're doing that in stages as you go. A lot of that's going to go to the rec lodge, but we need to pay off some of these vehicle things first that were done, and they're not quite finished yet. And part of that is staffing. Things that haven't quite been finished yet because of that. We're not in any way behind or anything, but it's not something you need to make a decision on yet. And we are spending that money like we're supposed to be doing. So you're doing what you need to do. That's not a problem. So I don't have anything more to say on those two. I'll keep these on here as reminders so that when we do get to a point when you need to do that, you're ready to go. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions for me?
No, the only other report I have under finance is that I am looking at a grant application jointly with 2 other communities for an electric vehicle charging station. The deadline of that isn't until the end of May or maybe early June. It's a rather complex process because it's a federal grant. So I'll keep you apprised about that. We haven't come to closure on what it will be about. We are getting $10,000 from the health department for sidewalk assessment. And I haven't received notice that we've received that money, but we do already have a transportation engineer on retainer to do that work for us. And that will be, again, information that we can use to help set up further requests for funds for sidewalk improvement, which will have to be partnered with the property owners. And we're looking for ways to do that, whether we can set up a fund that we match property owner improvements to sidewalks or something of the sort. But our first step will be to get an assessment of the condition of all the sidewalks and where the high traffic areas are that are most in need of improvement. And I haven't heard about the Crazy Steps grant yet. That's still pending. Thank you. I think we have nothing else unless someone wants to bring up something on finance.
I don't have anything.
Okay, Mr. Morris, thank you for keeping things together. It's we're looking pretty good all together. I know the auditors were in town last week. They
Yes.
seemed happy. So, okay.
Hopefully. Okay, I need a few seconds to move on to committee of the whole. If you just give me
Thank you.
about 10 seconds. To get my thing set up here. Okay, and Mr. Erbaldinger, I am okay if you want me to do the manager's update for committee of the whole.
We are ready.
Okay, this will be very quick. First, I wanted to start reminding you about the fact that shelf fund agreements for police and public works are 1-year agreements, and they expire at the end of this year. And the contract specifies that you begin any negotiations no later than August 1st on both parties if you're going to extend that or talk about it or whatever. I believe it also says that you'll notify each other by September 1st if you're going to get out of any agreements. So I just wanted to remind you that. I'll just keep that on there as a reminder. I don't like waiting until the last minute to bring stuff up if I can help it, even though I apparently do that often. The third item on here, item C, resolution, you'll see an Alcoasand regionalization transfer agreement resolution attached to committee of the whole. Nothing you have to vote on yet. The engineer is reviewing that, and they said that it will be up to council as to when you have to vote. He'll let us know if it's getting close. You may want to have them discuss this further in May if you want. Bob Ziskow from the engineer has been working on that more than Dave Gillen has. So I'd have to ask him to attend if you wanted him there. But again, this is not for a vote yet.
Yeah, I would like to
The
give us an update on that if we can, because I am interested in how far along we are and whether all of this work that's going on down on the Ardmore Boulevard, is that going to delay our trunk work?
Well, it will to a point, but at the same time, some of it probably will get done during that time too. But you'd need to have them discuss that with you more than me. I can have him come to the May meeting if council wants me to do that.
I would
Yeah, he
like an update from Bob Ziskow on where we are on that, because it's just such a mess and there's a lot of stuff going on in overlapping layers.
I would probably, if it's okay with Mr. Watkins, have him come to Public Works in
Yeah.
May. All right, I'll check with Bob Ziskow and see if he's available for that at the Zoom meeting again. And the only other thing I have is I did attach the EMS report. It came a little bit too late for public safety. And that was because, again, it's an end of the month report and they weren't quite ready with it a week ago. So it is attached here. And I don't have anything else to report.
Next, we have the solicitor's report.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for having me instead of Steve while he's off doing Disneyland Adventures, Disney World Adventures. Just a very brief report from the Solicitor's Office. You'll see we did provide some draft resolution as well as some draft documents for the sale of the rec center. The intent would be for the resolution authorizing our office to take the steps necessary to advertise for the bids and finalize the bid documents and sales agreement at your next meeting. And we have a moment, we have an idea of a proposed timeline, but that will ultimately be up to your discretion. The thought is that we should provide approximately 6 weeks from the first publication of the bid to the opening of the bid, and then provide an additional 2 weeks or so for some form of open house or walkthrough of the property, with the intent to then complete the closing within another month from that date. So we really are looking at about a 12-week timeline from the date the resolution is signed, authorizing us to take that step.
Might want to fix
Thank you.
the date on the resolution. You have 2019 instead of 2022.
Certainly will. We were able to save some time by finding the fact that apparently this had gotten to this point back in 2016. So we've been reworking the draft documents, just getting you to the point of having a proposed timeline. But that essentially will be what it is the resolution authorizing us to take the steps necessary, advertisement of the bids.
To publicize it. I thought
Exactly.
Steve told me you will do it after Easter. You will actually advertise it and all that stuff.
Yes. So the resolution authorizing the advertisement and everything will need to take place at your business meeting. So that would be a vote at your next meeting, and then we can put it in the paper and get moving on that timeline.
Okay. I thought we already did that, but okay.
Could I ask a quick question?
Sure.
And is this just require one motion then on April 27th to approve the resolution? Or is there
It should.
another motion that needs done too for advertising or something like that?
It should be just the resolution authorizes us to take the steps necessary to effectuate the
Okay,
bidding
one
and the
motion.
sale.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
And we wanted to put it up on I think the real estate bidding
Yeah.
thing.
Yes,
you
we
have
can
to
put it
give-
on. That's
We have to have a
included in the-
resolution.
Yes, we can update that resolution for any form of advertisement that you'd like us to include.
Okay, and including our website. I think we should do all three, like your official.
The multi-list, the
advertisement,
advertisement. Certainly,
and our
that's no
website.
problem.
Okay.
No problem. And, we will ensure that we have language in there that makes sure that you can reject bids for any reason and things like that. But it appears that this will be a fairly straightforward transaction. Unlike when I understand when you sold the old borough building, it was a little bit more in depth, but this should be fairly straightforward.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay.
I think that's it for today. I think we have a couple of things at our business meeting and executive session, but nothing for today. I think that's it for solicitors report. So next we have committee business, and we have only one thing on the agenda, like an update on the Savvy Citizens. We rolled it out, but I think it's moving rather slowly. I don't know. Does anyone have updates? Steve, do you have updates on that?
You're muted, Steve.
Probably better that way. Anyway, I'll look it up while you're talking, Marcus. It'll take me a minute.
Angelo, I think you're involved with that too. Do you have any updates?
The only update that I have is that, yeah, go ahead. The only update I have is that there are a few announcements that have gone out. Steve and I have been talking about it, so I'm going to work with Steve to make sure that we have the flow of how the Savvy Citizen will work, and with doing announcements and notifications. And I think we should have more information by the business meeting.
And I just looked it up. We have 977 followers. They may not necessarily all be Forest Hills residents, but they show 977 total.
Yeah, in that regard, it was a question that I wanted to ask for the account executive for Savvy Citizen. Is that when the notification was going out, it showed that there were 476 residents that were actually included in that total. So I just wanted to make sure that we were reading that correctly.
Yeah, I know she told me that the greater percentage was Forest Hills residents, but she said that they don't show separate numbers like that unless we'd have to ask them to see if they could get them. So I could do that if we needed to see that number now or in the future.
Do we know how many people were signed up to the SwiftReach phone thing? Like just to compare.
Well, SwiftReach, I know that there's usually about 12 or 1,300 that go out successfully whenever they go out, but they send to probably a little over 2,000. Not everybody responds or what have you, or there's no answer or whatever, no answering machine available or whatever.
Yeah, at the last information that I have was that the chief had sent out roughly a little bit over 1,500 messages went out to telephones, and that we had about 10 folks that responded so far that said that they would possibly have a problem with switching over to Savvy Citizen, which is actually good news. But I believe he'll have a better report in the next week or so.
I can tell you that the last time I sent a public service announcement out, there were 3,158 calls that went out, and there were 1,038 that were answered, 1,562 that were not answered, 35 that were busy, and just some others that are, I don't know what this congestion means. There was just a number that were not, that just kind of fell out of the loop. So 1,038 were answered from this, the one that I did in February that was a public service announcement, out of 3,158 total calls.
Do you have any other comments?
Did we lose Marcus?
I think we may have lost Marcus.
I think the last thing was there was going to be an update about the Siemens agreement. Maybe Ms. DeMarco was going to do that. I don't know. Was that the case, Ms. DeMarco?
I understand that we have executed a contract with Siemens, which Mr. Erboldinger signed last week. There's a kickoff meeting on Thursday at 1 o'clock with, I think, Barb Martin and Angelo and Mr. Erbaldinger will attend that to go over the plan of work and the scope of what they're going to be doing. I think it would be important for them to have a good dialogue back and forth, and I would expect that a report out on that would happen at Borough Property Committee meeting in the following month, right? I think we have a good opportunity here to address some long-standing maintenance issues on some of our buildings as we look at energy efficiency improvements, not only to the envelope, but also to the operating systems, and to look at the potential for putting solar onto the roofs. Just as a related, yeah, Marcus, you're back.
Yeah, I'm back. My phone somehow went into safe driving mode. I don't know why. So it shut me out. So
I
I'm
was
back.
I was just telling them that we signed the Siemens agreement. And I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
I mean, we will have the kickoff meeting on Thursday at 1. And like I said, Steve Corbell told us, or told me, we can make it an informal executive session. So we don't have to limit us to 3 council members. So if people want to, it's mainly a listening session, and mainly we need to introduce Dave Gillian to the Siemens people and need them to get started on the Westinghouse rack furnace. That's the first item of action they have to do. So it's a kickoff meeting for Dave and Siemens.
We lost you again, Marcus.
Hello?
Hi,
Hi.
we lost you for a little while.
Am I back? I'm not sure.
You're back.
Yeah.
I don't know why my phone suddenly goes into it. I'm like on the Zoom app, and suddenly it does like this. You know, I don't touch my phone. I just have it in the car, but somehow it's saying driver, whatever, safety, whatever. Anyway, yeah, but I think it's all over. Yeah, we will have the kickoff meeting on Thursday. That's for Siemens. I think that's it. That was the last item we had. Is anything else? Committee of.
Yeah, can I make a quick comment, please?
Yeah, of course.
I want to go back to just a comment that was made during the discussion about the trees from the Tree and Shrub Committee. All these committees are supposed to advise and recommend. So any reluctance they have to come to the council is unfounded. I believe everything that they discuss or recommend needs to come to council. They shouldn't be operating autonomously and making decisions. That's all I have.
And I agree. I think we should probably look in all those ordinances, because sometimes they're like independent from us more than they should, I think. So we should probably look into those and how they should help us, but yeah, how we can do that better, more effective. That would be a good idea. Anything else?
I don't think there's anything else.
Okay. Good night, everyone.
Reminder that April 27th is the next meeting, not next week, April 27th. Okay, good night. I'm going to end the meeting.